Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of TheSportsPodcast, brought to you by the CollingsThodeNetwork. I'm your host, Nolan Thode, alongside
Curtis Collings.
And we're here to talk about the NBA. The season has, had a few games so far, so we've been able to see the teams a bit, but we still wanted to get a little bit of a season preview and predictions episode in, just for you guys to be able to hear what we think about the teams, going into the season and what our expectations are.
Yep, something light, just predicting how we think the playoffs will shape up, and a few award winners, and talking about who we're excited for on the season, so.
We can hop right into it. So we predicted, the standings for the playoffs for the season.
Playoffs and play-in. I included my play-in.
I had my play-in as well. And then how the playoffs are going to go, and then just, our awards for the season. So I guess we can start in the Eastern Conference. I can run, so we'll go 1 through 6, I guess, and then we can talk about
1
the
through 6
after.
and then play-in, yeah.
So I have the Milwaukee Bucks as the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. I'm not sure about you, but I think, Middleton's out for the first little bit, but he'll come back in, and, they're 7-0 right now, looking very good. I just think the East is very tough. There are a lot of teams that could, be that number 1 seed, but if I'm going to bet on one, it's going to be Milwaukee. I think it's going to be a really good regular season for them, and, like I said, when Middleton's back and healthy, I think that team's going to be, pretty much near unstoppable.
I can't see a lineup that you could put together that would be better than the Bucks lineup when they're at their best. Like, fully healthy. I also had the Bucks as my 1 seed. Not much to elaborate, it's just, damn. Mm-hmm. And it's the role players they have too that just, like, everything, the way this roster was assembled is just, like, it's something special. We're watching a special basketball team just based off the talent they have.
Yeah, I'm big on the Bucks this year, and I think last year it was unfortunate that the Middleton injury kept them from, being able to, properly defend their title. I think they would have been able to, probably beat Boston. They lost to them in 7.
I definitely think they could have seen the Warriors last year.
Yeah, I would have put them in the finals, and who knows what happens at that point. Going on to the 2 seed, I have the Boston Celtics.
I also have the Boston Celtics.
I feel like, similar to the Bucks, they're just very well-constructed roster. I feel like they have the star power and the depth. Tatum and Jaylen Brown both take a step forward every single year, and I think they're going to continue to do that. I think they're hungry after losing the finals. Good defensive team. You got guys like last year's Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart, Derek White, Robert Williams when he comes back, and then Big Al, of course. I think they're a good team.
Only reason I couldn't put them in my 1 seed is because of the coaching change and off-season kind of controversy around that. They're going to have to be working through that. And, I mean, we'll see how it continues through this first quarter of the season. But, roster's so good.
A close 2nd seed, though. You could justify them being the 1 seed.
I definitely think both of those teams are 50-win teams.
I agree, but I also think that maybe a little bit of, deep playoff run is going to have an effect on the Celtics. Maybe they take it a little bit lighter in the regular season.
I could see that. I could definitely see that.
Now moving on, the 3 seed, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Cavaliers at the 3 seed.
As my 3 seed. They've been really good to start the season, 6-1, and that's with Darius Garland going down in the first game of the season. Donovan Mitchell's been able to, pick up his slack, and the rest of the team, guys like Karis LeVert, Mobley, Allen, have been, stepping up, and now that Garland is back, I believe. I think he played last night.
He played last night, dropped, I think, 28 and 13. Crazy game for him. He was incredible.
I just think the Cavaliers are going to take the regular season a lot more seriously than a lot of the other teams in the East, and I think it's going to benefit them, and they're going to be the 3 seed.
Yeah, I fully agree with that point that they're going to take it more seriously as their team that has a lot to prove. I mean, coming off last year, what were they, 6 seed?
They lost in the play-in, I think. Or were they the 8 seed?
Oh, yeah, 8 seed. So they have whatever it is. They weren't a top 4 seed last year, and they have a lot to prove this year, and I think I agree with you. They're going to be taking that regular season a lot more seriously than other teams. Mm-hmm. My 3 seed, though, and I think this is the top 3 teams in the East. There's a bit of doubt, but my 3 seed is the 76ers. If they can stay healthy, if Maxey can take the jumps and leaps that he continues to take, early season he has been on fire so far. Yeah. And if Embiid can stay healthy, Harden can prove that he can be that guy for them. I see no reason why they can't be a 3 seed and one of the 50-win teams in that division. Mm-hmm. I only have them, Celtics, and Bucks winning 50 games this year.
Yeah.
In the East.
I can see that. I think, with the East, it's really, when you write it down, there are
so many good teams.
Good teams, and, really, the 3 seed to 6, 7 seed, I think, is pretty interchangeable for me, at least.
I think 3 to 8 could be interchangeable, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
That's how deep this Eastern Conference goes.
Lots of good teams, and I like the Sixers too, and I'll get to them when they're in mind. The 4 seed, however, is not the Sixers. I'm going with the Toronto Raptors as my 4 seed.
Raps at 4 seed. That surprises me. Just the teams that you would have put them above.
Yeah, I mean, I like what I've seen so far. Siakam's obviously been playing very, very well, and I just think they have a good team. I know they're gonna show up, on most nights at least, and be working together. There's not a lot of dysfunction when it comes to the Raptors.
Not a lot of dysfunction, and they're a very physical team. They're never gonna get outmanned.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. They're a good physical team, good defensive team, good defensive IQ, good offensive IQ. They can shoot. I like what I've seen from the Raptors so far, and I think they were the 5 seed last year. So I think them being the 4 seed is no stretch of the imagination.
It does make sense, but I mean, there's just so many good teams in the East where. 4 seed, and this is crazy that this is 4 seed when you have Durant, Kyrie, Ben Simmons, all these guys together. I have my 4 seed being the Brooklyn Nets. I think this year they play together, they build some chemistry. They just fired Steve Nash, who I don't think was ever going to be the coach for that situation.
Yeah,
a rookie head coach with those personalities and those names. They already the media headlines said they didn't respect Steve Nash anyways. It was more of a player-run team anyways. So I think this year, a full year, I don't know if they're bringing in, what was that, Udoka?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're fully bringing him in, but whichever coach they do bring in, he'll have experience. I think 4 seed.
Have more of a hold of the team than Nash ever did.
Exactly. And give the team more of its identity.
Mm-hmm. I think they've been lacking that. They've had the talent in the last few years to, be a championship team. I just think, they're really lacking an identity as the Brooklyn Nets, and I think a lot of things need to go right for them, but the talent's definitely there for sure.
So that's why I have them as my 4 seed. I don't see them winning 50 games. I don't see them in the same bracket as the 76ers, Celtics, and Bucks.
Mm-hmm. Going on to the 5 seed in the East, I have the Miami Heat.
Going on to my 5 seed, I have the Miami Heat.
Mm-hmm. I just think they're going to be a solid regular season team. I think. Losing PJ Tucker, I don't like. I feel like I really liked him on in their starting 5 last year. A really good, tenacious team, but they still have that tenacity with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, all of a sudden playing like a 1990s big man that can also shoot the ball. But yeah, so I really like the Heat roster.
And they're so good defensively. Bam as well defensively. He's been on a lot of DPOY rankings, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And much like the Raptors, to me, I feel like there's not a ton of dysfunction with this team. I feel like Miami's a good culture, well-run organization, and outside of their big guys, I feel like it's just guys who can play defense and guys who can shoot the ball. Guys like Martin, Strus, those kind of players on the Heat roster I can even trust in game late.
Yep, and I don't they're the types of players where it's I don't see them making many mistakes with the ball. So yeah, Heat 5, not much more to add on. They were 1 seed, or they were very high seed.
Seed last year.
1 seed last year, so I have them taking a bit of a drop, but in this Eastern Conference, 1 to 5, that doesn't mean anything with the teams that we've already mentioned. My 6 seed was the Cavaliers. This is where I feel comfortable putting them in, the last team to not make the play-in. Based off what they did last year, and then adding Mitchell, and I think Mobley's going to have a huge step up defensively, even more so than he was last year, which was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I safely could see the Cavaliers finishing, and I could even see a first-round upset, potentially.
Mm-hmm. No, I really like the Cavaliers. I had them at 3, so no issues with that. My 6 seed, I have the Sixers. And you had them at 3, so our 3 and 6 seed intertwine, and neither is really a wrong opinion. Like we said, it's very interchangeable. I think Harden came in midway through the season last year and found success with Philadelphia, but I think a full year with the team is going to benefit him a lot.
Yeah, there was their rocky moments last year.
No, absolutely.
So I think
and they were still kind of figuring it out. They were able to win a playoff series, but I think now a whole year of Harden and Embiid, they're gonna develop that chemistry and be a team not to mess with really going into the playoffs. And Maxey, I feel like he is pretty much their X factor. Obviously Harden and Embiid are going to do their thing on most nights, but it's really how much Maxey is doing, because he's not getting as much defensive attention, and he's that third option on offense. But if he can step up and be like a 20+ point per game player on the season, I think that's going to be huge for them, and they can find a lot of success.
Well, he's already almost willed that team over the Raptors already with, what was that, a 40-point performance?
Yeah, his career high 44 or something like that.
So if he can
on 15 of 20 for shooting.
Yeah, crazy good efficiency. Just if he could keep up moments like that and just be a 20 points per game scorer, I see no reason why. Well, for me, they're the 3 seed. It's something like that where you could talk about a 6 seed being that talented in the Eastern Conference. My 7 seed.
Yeah.
Yeah, my 7 seed in the start of the play-in, who I think will inevitably come out of the play-in, is the Raptors. This is where I safely could see them falling. It's just, for me, they're still missing that final piece to put them in the upper echelon with the rest of the teams. While Siakam is looking like that piece right now, if he could sustain it, then I'll feel bad about putting them at 7. I definitely think they could go much higher than that. But if Siakam's going to be the same Siakam that we know from years past.
He won't be as good as he's been the whole season, but it's how low will he go? How low will those moments be? And when he goes down, is Scotty going to be able to fill that void? Is Fred going to be able to do that? What is their team without a first team All NBA, second team All NBA Siakam is what he's playing like right now.
Yep. And so that's why they're safely in 7 for me.
In my 7 seed, I have the Atlanta Hawks. I feel like they've been a fun team so far, and two-headed monster with Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. Heading into the season, they were a team I was really excited for. I think bringing in Murray is a great addition, and they kind of shed some of the pieces that weren't fitting in so much, like a Reddish. He wasn't really getting his minutes, and I think that they're a lot more complete of a roster this year. They didn't make the playoffs last year. Or were they in the play-in?
I don't think they made it at all.
I can't remember what happened to the Hawks last year, but I think they're the 7 seed here, and I'm excited to see what they can do past that point.
Yeah, with a significant ball handler in Murray coming in, taking the load off Trae Young, it's dangerous what they do, and especially in a playoff series, I'd be afraid of betting against them. They were my 8 seed, so right in this spot is where I see them coming out of the play-in game, and I think 1 through 8 of these teams that we've mentioned so far are the top teams. And then my 9 and 10, they're not in the same division.
Yeah. I have my 8 seed. I have the Brooklyn Nets. I just think, slow start to the season right now. They're 2-6. Not looking at that too much. I feel like, they're going to hover around 500. I feel like opposite of the Cavaliers, they're not going to take the regular season as seriously. I feel like they really just care about making the play-in, feel things out, really, really develop what they're going to be, heading into the playoffs, like what is their team. And then, I feel like, not going to bet on it or anything, but Durant, Kyrie could definitely miss time here and there, and I just feel like to be a top 6 team in the East, I feel like you need to have a very consistent season throughout, and I feel like the Nets are just going to have ups and downs where they'll wind up in the 8 seed, surprisingly.
Yeah, I think it's all about finding an identity for that team. If they could find an identity and gel together, then they could be a high seed with that talent, and if they can't find an identity, then very easily they could finish 8th seed. We can just do 9 and 10 together. Yeah, that's what I was going to do.
I have the Bulls as my 9 seed and the Knicks as my 10 seed.
I have the Wizards as my 10 seed.
The 10 seed, it's just toss up between a few teams, Wizards, Knicks, Hornets. But I think, 10 seed in the East.
Yeah.
I have them losing to the Bulls in the first round of the play-in.
Yep.
I think Bulls, really good team. They were hot to start last year. A lot of people really liked them. And then they unfortunately had to play Milwaukee in the first round.
Yeah, lots of injury issues, and they're continuing into this year.
And that's just, going to happen to the Bulls. It seems that way, but I think by season's end, they will be fighting in the play-in at least. And I have them beating the Knicks 9/10. So then they go on to play the next round. Should we do our little play-in predictions, I guess?
Yeah, you go ahead.
So, first off, it's Brooklyn versus Atlanta, and I have the Nets beating the Hawks and taking that 7 seed in the East. And then I have the Bulls over the Knicks, and then I have, the 7 seed slips out. I have the Chicago Bulls beating the Atlanta Hawks, and the Atlanta Hawks miss the playoffs in crazy play-in fashion.
Wow.
I don't know. We'll see how that prediction stands
we'll see.
up. I just feel like, I don't know, in a one game, give me DeRozan, I just hope and a prayer.
DeRozan over Trae Young.
It's making picks to have fun. It's the 7 and 8 seed in the East. I don't think they're gonna have a deep playoff run or anything like that.
Yeah, they're not really primed to make some noise. I just have the Raptors and Hawks making it out of there. Nothing too crazy. Just typical play-in action. Nothing. I don't think the East is where anything extraordinary is gonna happen in the play-in.
No, neither do I. And then so then we can go into the West.
Yep. So for my 1 seed in the West, I have the Warriors finishing 1. I like their roster still. It's still good. They added Dante DiVincenzo too, who's just going to be the perfect gel guy for that team. And with the West this year, it's not really like there's a front runner to come first. It's, again, just a very heavy, very deep group of, every single team is good, and I could see every single team finishing as a top 3 seed. But I have to go 1 for my top seed, and I'm going the Warriors, and that's going to be on the back of Steph Curry.
Yeah, I think Steph Curry, great start to the season so far. Definitely a good candidate to be that 1 seed. I have the Phoenix Suns, just good regular season team. They've proven that in the last 3 years, and I think, they've just got a good enough roster. They're well coached that I feel like if I'm gonna, much like the Bucks, it can be a race for that 1 seed, but I feel like just the team I'm most confident that will take it is the Phoenix Suns. There's really not too much complexity to that answer. They've got Chris Paul, D-Book, Ayton. That could create a little controversy throughout the season.
That's one of the main reasons I don't have them here. But
So we'll see what happens with the DeAndre Ayton situation. Mikal Bridges, great defensive player. Cam Johnson, good as well. Jay Crowder sitting out right now. He wants to be traded.
Yeah, I think honestly the best situation for that would be to go to the Heat. And then be the PJ Tucker replacement there.
Yeah, so we'll see where PJ Tucker ends up.
Or Jay Crowder.
Similar players. I don't know, 3-and-D guys. But yeah, I have the Phoenix Suns. They were the 1 seed last year, and I think,
no, that's fair.
I'll put them there again.
Yeah, my 2 seed this year, I have the Clippers going 2. I just think with the additions they made, they're going to be using the regular season to gel together more, like Norman Powell coming in for a full season, and John Wall especially. Seeing what's going to happen with Kawhi Leonard's knee management is the only asterisk I would put next to them being the 2 seed, because if not, I'm very confident in them being a very good regular season team.
So am I. They're sitting at 4-4 right now, 500, and it's just the question of how many games is Kawhi going to play in the regular season for me. I don't have them there. My 2 seed is the Denver Nuggets. I feel like, back-to-back MVPs for Jokic, and now hopefully he's looking to have Jamal Murray and MPJ, his 2 co-stars supporting him, and I feel like they're a well-built team. The guys they brought in, KCP, I really like. I think Bones is going to take a step up. I just really like the Nuggets. I think they're a really good regular season team as well.
Yeah, they have them.
And Jokic, not foreshadowing, triple crown MVP.
I couldn't see it.
I feel like there's going to be a bit of voter fatigue, but he'll be up there, I think. If he averages, near triple-double, it's going to be hard not to. And I think if they're a 2 seed in the West, it's going to be hard not to. But, yeah, I have Denver at 2.
Yeah, I have Denver at 3. Again, fully healthy. Denver looks nasty. They look so good.
My 3 seed is the Golden State Warriors. So that's your 1 seed. So right up there. The team that won the NBA championship last year. They were the 3 seed last year. I feel like they're going to take the regular season somewhat seriously. I feel like they're going to be just seeing what works in the regular season because, they lost Gary Payton in the offseason. So he was a good player who's going to step up in his role. Moses Moody's been playing a lot of minutes so far. Not as many as I would have expected from Kuminga and from Wiseman. I think those are two guys that can contribute as well.
Disappointing start so far, in my opinion.
Clay, they seem to be easing him back into it. Same with Draymond, weirdly.
Yeah.
There's a bit of, you know.
Again, they're just kind of experimenting more. It's the start of the season for a established team. They are allowed to do this.
Mm-hmm, exactly. But I think solid roster, top 3 seed in the West. And Poole coming off the bench, I think, gives them a good spark. He's been up and down so far, but I think, you know, having him or Curry on the floor at most times gives them a good advantage.
Yeah, it's definitely a. I mean, we've seen it for almost a decade now. Just dangerous team. Especially whenever Curry's on the floor, you can't doubt the Warriors.
No.
My 4 seed was the Suns. This is where I have them finishing. Just with all the Ayton stuff and the owner stuff in the offseason, I think they're losing gas. I mean, Chris Paul's not getting any younger. I just think it's that team that's running out of time. And I think they're out of their 1 to 3 seed era of being a dominant regular season team. And I still think they'll be good. I still think they'll pick up wins. They'll be favored in almost every matchup they play. But it's just the gas is running out. They're running on fumes at this point, it feels like.
Mm-hmm. Good home team, I like. That's another factor. Phoenix was dying for a competitive team, and they finally got it. Another city that was, you know, didn't really have much for a while other than a, you know, grizzled veterans Grizzlies team. I have the Grizzlies as my 4 seed. You know, Ja Morant, crazy as always. They're missing JJJ to start the season for the first, you know, couple months at least.
Yeah.
So I think that'll impact them, but I think they're a team that is weirdly, like, you know, they're a kind of team that can be better with injuries, stuff like that. I feel like they're just
they
deep
were last year without Ja.
And just competitive. I think Desmond Bane's going to continue to take steps forward. He was the MIP last year, right?
No, Ja was.
Ja was?
Yeah.
But, was it?
Yeah, Ja won Most Improved Player.
I'm going to fact check that. I know it was one of the two.
It was Ja.
I think
it was Ja, and I have something to talk about that later when we get to the award predictions. And how I think, just sneak peek, Ja winning the Most Improved Player award is kind of ruining the point of the Most Improved Player award.
Yeah.
Because it's a player, it's like, the Most Improved Player award, I think of guys like Siakam. He wasn't meant to make that step up. I think of guys like, back in the day, Ryan Anderson. He wasn't meant to make that jump into being the player he was. I think it should be players that are unexpected, solid contributors to teams. I don't think it should be young players that are making the leaps that we expect them to. Mm-hmm. And so Ja Morant winning it last year, I think, sets a bad precedent for the award going forward.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen a lot of that. I think it's either... Yeah, it's like a star player. Like, if you look at the history of MIPs, it's very, very good. I think it's like, I think Giannis won it, Paul George won it. So yeah, I don't know about Ja, but 4 seed, I think Memphis is going to be solid in the regular season again.
Yeah, completely agree. My 5 seed, though, not the Grizzlies, Timberwolves, with their addition of Rudy Gobert and moving Cat to the 4, however they're going to play that. I just think situationally it's so good. It works so well. They finally have that defensive anchor that they needed bad.
Yeah.
And Anthony Edwards going to make a step up. I think he's primed to make that, like, Ja Morant superstar leap that we saw last year.
Yeah. No, I like Edwards a lot. I'll get to the Timberwolves, but my 5 seed is the Dallas Mavericks. I feel like I'm trying to think. I guess they lost Porzingis, but they traded him at the deadline anyways last year. So I feel like they got better from the team that went to the Western Conference Finals last year, bringing in Christian Wood.
Huge. They
did lose Brunson. That was one name I was forgetting, I guess. But still, you know, Dinwiddie's a good secondary point guard to Luka. But I think, Christian Wood is a big addition, and, you know, solid team around Luka. I just think he's gonna put up his numbers every night, and like, I feel like they're similar to Miami, whereas, like, I just feel like they're going to end up in the middle of their conference.
I agree with that. And then I think, in all honesty, losing Brunson, like, I would rather Christian Wood than Brunson for that Mavericks team. While I think Brunson is a better player, I think for that Mavericks team, a better fit is going to be Christian Wood.
Yeah, and, you know, Luka's a good rebounding guard, but you got guys like Christian Wood. Do they still have Boban?
Yep. I don't know. I don't know if they have Boban, but they grabbed JaVale McGee.
Kleba, they got McGee now.
Yeah.
I think they they might have traded Dwight Powell, but anyways, I feel like Mavericks are going to be a really good rebounding team, and they're a good shooting team, so a lot of, second chance opportunities.
Yep. The Grizzlies, this is where I have them landing. I mean, for all these teams that we're mentioning, Timberwolves, Grizzlies, Mavericks, you could put them in any spot here in the middle of the West, and I don't think you'd be wrong.
Yeah.
So my 6th seed is the Grizzlies. Just, again, it's one of the deepest teams in the league. It's continued to be, while they do lose pieces like Anthony Melton and Slow-Mo, Kyle Anderson, he's gone too. He's on the Timberwolves now. It's just like, they're so deep and they're so talented. I can't put them anywhere else.
Yeah. I have the Timberwolves as my 6th seed, so a lot of interchanging with the 4, 5, and 6. Pretty much all the points you touched on. I think bringing in Gobert is a great addition to the team. Karl Anthony Towns, gifted offensive player, and, on some nights he can be good defensively too. I just think he just wasn't consistent enough defensively. He would, he like you said, he couldn't be that defensive anchor, that big man, he would get bodied in the paint, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like bringing in Gobert really allows Cat to play the game that he, wants to play and has wanted to play his whole career.
And will thrive in.
And, I think Jaden McDaniels, good bench player.
Very glad.
He's starting. Good depth player is what I meant to say.
Very glad that they kept him.
D'Angelo Russell, he's, good facilitator. And then Anthony Edwards, I think also does make that superstar jump. If people aren't putting him in that category already, I think, year 3 is going to be a good one for him. He's going to get those highlight reel dunks. Just a really athletic player. What I love about Edwards is he's just like, I feel like he's an athlete more than he is a basketball player necessarily.
Yeah, he's one of those motor guys where it's just constant energy, constant in your face.
Yeah.
Yep. Then my 7th seed, Mavericks, everything you just talked about. Again, interchangeable, but this is my team that I think is going to slip into the play-in, but I'm not really scared about their chances in the play-in.
As my 7th seed, I have the Pelicans. I think with Zion back, Brent Ingram did get injured to start the season, but I feel like they'll have a good enough stretches where their team will be healthy, but there also is just going to be time with, Zion missing time, Brent Ingram, if this continues, it'll just, have them not reaching their full potential, but I think still being a good team and being the 7th seed.
Yep. Oh yeah, I agree with that. It's just they're a play-in team this year, which sucks because they're a really talented group and it's a lot of players that I really like. It's just this is such a stacked Western Conference. I mean, the league, like our playoff teams this year in both leagues, it just feels like this is one of the most stacked leagues we've ever gotten to watch.
I think. And doing research for my notes for this episode, I was looking at the past playoffs in the NBA, and it's like, after the first round, it's usually like the first seed wins their, first round matchup, the second seed wins their first round matchup, the third seed wins their, it's kind of like you just expect the good teams to be good. There's not a lot of parity, but I feel like, Curtis and I are both big NHL fans. I feel like it's similar to the NHL, where it's really like, as long as you get into the playoffs, seeding isn't so important. I feel like any of these teams, could justify a deep playoff run. Yeah,
especially in a 7-game series, any of these teams could beat the others. Especially these teams that we've been mentioning in the middle of the Western Conference. My 8 seed was the Portland Trailblazers. I really like the group that they've assembled this year. I just don't like them enough to make the full play-in or playoffs. So they're a play-in team for me, but I still think that this is just such a talented group. And Dame is finally getting the help it looks like he needs.
Yeah.
It's finally other players who can score the ball.
Yeah. I think Jeremy Grant was a good addition to them. I will get to them. My 8 seed is the Clippers. I feel like I just have them there because of Kawhi. I don't think they're an 8 seed, caliber team when fully healthy. I think, they're one of the, premier teams in the West, in my opinion. I just feel like, they, much like the Nets, just care about making the play-in, feeling things out. I feel like they're a team that's confident that they could win the title as the 8 seed. So I don't think they're too worried about, the regular season too much.
Yeah, they might not take it as seriously. They're a lot like the Brooklyn Nets, I guess, for you.
And so we'll see what happens with Kawhi. But he's been very odd to start the season, only playing 2 games. So there's definitely more to that injury than I think they were, telling the public in the offseason. I feel like a lot of people were kind of expecting,
a
Kawhi, night 1, that's it. And I feel like that's why a lot of people were liking the Clippers going into the season. I still do like the Clippers, just, sadly, having to fight in the play-in.
Yeah, I definitely see this Kawhi situation being a lot like his thigh or quad situation before he joined the Raptors, where it's just like, we have no clue what's actually going on with him.
Yeah. And a very private person.
Very private.
And Clippers will, respect that privacy and keep that.
Yep.
My 9 seed, I have the Trailblazers. So, team, I really like. Dame started the season crazy and then got hurt, unfortunately. But, once he's back, I'm excited to see what this team can do. And, losing CJ last year kind of hurts them just because, he was a staple piece. But I feel like the team wasn't going to, reach,
They reached their limit.
I feel like, exactly. They peaked with CJ and Dame in the backcourt. Now it's pretty much Dame's to his own, Simons is also a good ball handler, but I feel like still trust that ball in Dame's hands. Josh Hart, good, spark player. He's a good rebounder for a guard, just good defender as well. And then, like I said, bring in Jeremy Grant. I really like it because it's a good wing for the Blazers, which they haven't really had
a scoring wing
in a while.
Compared to who they used to have. Like, they used to just throw out, like, Mo Harkless and, like, Alfred Gamino. It's like they finally have someone who could score and is, like, 6'8".
Mm-hmm. And I think Dame is going to exploit that because he hasn't really seen that much in his career, except for when, I guess, not even. I really can't think of a good, Blazers wing of the past 10 years.
Nick Batum.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Hood. Like, this is the first, like, I think this is the most help Dame's gotten in his career, it feels like.
Yep. I think it's a good Trailblazers team. Sadly, though, I'll go into my plan now.
Well, I have my 9 seed.
True.
9 seed, and we have our 10 seeds. My 9 seed, this is where I have the Pelicans falling. Again, just such a talented group, but it's just such a stacked West where it's like, I don't see them making it further than this.
Yeah. And then my 10 seed, maybe a bit of a fanboy in me, but I also just don't think, I just feel like there's a bottom group in the West where I feel like those teams don't really, I feel like over 82 games, the Lakers can do better than that. And as the 10 seed, I have the Lakers just scraping into the play-in. I feel like they could be a good second half team depending on where they are. If AD stays healthy the whole year, I obviously think 10 seed should be attainable. We'll see whether or not they keep Russ for the whole season. Lots of question marks around them, but, with LeBron James on your team, I think they were only a few games, away from the 10 seed last year. I feel like this roster is a little bit better than last year's team.
I'd say so.
So I have them as 10.
Yep, and they're my 10 seed. They're just better than the other teams. That's really the thick of it for me. It's just like I see them over the Kings, Thunder, like those types of those types of teams. And then, I just wish they had more. Had more support.
Yeah, I know. It's
so
they need more tough. Shooting to be able to succeed in today's NBA. I think they have pieces. It's just like it doesn't really come together as nicely as you want it to on paper. It's very reminiscent of like obviously LeBron's teams in Cleveland without Kyrie didn't have an AD level player, but I feel like it kind of reminds me of those teams. However, this is not the mid 2010s East where LeBron can, carry his team to the playoffs on his own.
Yeah.
It's a competitive West, it's a competitive NBA, so we'll see how the Lakers, fare.
Yeah.
And then my play-in result, I have the Clippers beating the Pelicans in the first game, so they lock up that 7 seed. I have the Lakers beating the Trailblazers. I just, it's LeBron. I'm a bit of a fanboy. But it's a one game, anything can happen type of thing. But then ultimately LeBron doesn't make the playoffs. I have the Pelicans, then beating the Lakers, the Pelicans being my 8 seed.
Yeah, I got the Pelicans being the Lakers and then losing out to the Trailblazers for the 8 seed. Or however that goes. But I have it being the Mavericks, Trailblazers being my 7 and 8.
Mm-hmm. And then playoffs. So I guess we'll go back to the East. In the first round, I have the 1 seed Bucks beating the 8 seed Chicago Bulls in 5. I feel like this is a matchup from last year's playoffs. I just feel like Milwaukee is going to be fully healthy. Maybe the Bulls sneak in a game, but I feel like the Bucks, want to go deep in the playoffs, and losing in the first round, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I got the 1 seeded Bucks over the 8 seeded Hawks in 6. I like the Hawks bigs. So I like their potential to steal 2 games, but it's just
that'd be a good series.
Bucks team is so good, and yeah, that would be such a fun series to watch, just with the bodies involved.
And then my 2 versus 7, I have the Boston Celtics and Brooklyn Nets. Another rematch from last year.
Yeah.
And I have the Celtics again winning in 5. I just feel like, I don't know, they'll stick to what they did last year when they swept them. They kind of know how to beat the Nets. And sadly, another failed season for this, Kyrie KD experiment.
Yeah. That makes you question when it's time to end it, but different conversation for a later day. I have my 2-seeded Celtics beating the Raptors, but that one is going to go full 7. These 2 teams have matched up so many times. They've played each other so many times. They went 7 in the bubble playoffs.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be such a fun and exciting series with the bodies on the floor, Tatum, Brown, and just the bigs of the Raptors.
Yeah.
That'll just be a fun series, but yeah, that'll go 7. The Raps will give the Celtics a very good fight, but the Raptors aren't there yet.
And then my 3 seed versus 6 seed, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Sixers, and I have the Cavs winning their first playoff series without LeBron in
God knows how
who knows how long over the Sixers in 7 games, though. I think that'd be a great series.
That'd be so much fun.
That'd be a treat, honestly. You got Mitchell versus, Harden, Garland versus Maxey, and then, Mobley and Allen. How are they going to contain Embiid? I think they can, and in 7 games, I think the Cavs advance.
No, that's exactly what I had too, except I had the Cavs being the low seed upsetting this 76ers squad, and this 76ers squad having to deal with another disappointing season, which they've had to do many years in a row now.
Yep.
And that Cavs team, it just looks so exciting. And it looks like if all the pieces can come together in the playoffs and they go on that run, it's a hard team to stop.
I fully agree. My 4 versus 5 is the Raptors and Heat. I have the Heat winning in 6. I just feel like they have more playoff experience, even though there are some members of the Raptors team that were, on that championship roster. I still think the Heat I don't know. The playoffs is a different game, and I feel like
They've been on so many runs.
The Heat will come prepared, for anything, any night, and and runs in the playoffs. But both runs in games, I feel like the Heat, even if they go down big, all of a sudden they can pull within really quickly. When they went to the finals in the bubble, I remember them doing that a lot. It'll be a good series. I think it could go either way. I just feel like for right now, I feel like the Heat have more of a, built for the playoffs team.
Yeah, my 4-5 is Nets Heat, which is probably the closest series for me. These teams match up, I say, really nicely, and I also have the Heat winning. 2 low seeds winning for me, and the rest are high seeds. It's just, it depends on if this Nets team can find that chemistry and can find that identity, but they're versing a Heat's team that's had this identity for 5 years, that have been doing this. It feels like this group of Heat players, it feels like they've been together for like a decade. That's how tight-knit it feels like watching them and just reading their roster. It's like, these are the guys
I think the finals run in the bubble, was, even though they lost in the NBA Finals, a huge blessing for this Heat team.
Yep.
Because now they believe that they are, the team to beat in the East. They were the 1 seed last year. I think, they proved that it carried into the next year. But like you said, even though they haven't been together, Butler's only been there, 3 or 4 years?
Yeah,
it does feel like these are guys that,
years.
It feels like these are guys that have been playing together, for 10 plus.
Yeah, and that's just the Heat culture.
And then we can do West first round. I have 1 seed Suns beating the Pelicans in 6. Another rematch from last year's playoffs. The exact same seeding as well. 1 seed versus 8 seed. I think this could be a really good series depending on the health of the Pelicans and the Suns both. But I just feel like, much like with the Raptors and Heat, I feel like the Suns are more built for the playoffs than the Pelicans are. I think the Pelicans will give them a great match. It'll be a great series.
That would be such a great series.
And, first look at Zion in the playoffs.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he can make it all the way there.
Yeah.
Now, I have my 1 seed Warriors beating the Trailblazers, a rematch of, what was that, 29? Or no. They matched up at some point many times, but just, it's going to be more the same between this Warriors and Pelicans, or Warriors and Trailblazers,
yeah.
where the Warriors just have more talent, and they just gel together so well. And Trailblazers in their first season with this unit, I think it's not this year that they're going to get it done, but I think definitely next year you could see the Trailblazers going on a big run.
Mm-hmm. I have the 2 versus 7 being the Denver Nuggets and LA Clippers. And I have the Clippers, the play-in team with the big upset. I feel like I trust this team more in April than I do in November. I feel like by this point, this is when we're going to see Kawhi healthy if he is healthy. And I believe a healthy Clippers team is the better team than the Nuggets. I feel like even though they're the 7 seed and it's a 2 seed, they have, the tools to match up with the Nuggets, and they get their revenge for the bubble playoffs where they blew a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets. I think the Clippers move on to the second round.
Yeah, my 2 versus 7 is really tough. It's going 7 games, I know that much. It's the Clippers versus the Mavericks. Part of me really wants to say the Mavericks.
Another good rematch.
Yeah, very good rematch. Part of me wants to say the Mavericks just because of what we've seen and what we saw out of them last year. But I think fully healthy, this is going to be the year the Clippers make a good run.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you there. 3 seed versus 6 seed, I have the Warriors and Timberwolves, which would be a great series.
That would be. That's a yeah.
I just feel like, I don't know, if the Warriors are the 3 seed, they know what to do in the playoffs, especially more than the Timberwolves do. I feel like although Pat Bev wasn't crazy, I feel like losing that, premier defensive guard is definitely going to hurt the Timberwolves being able to match up against a guy like Curry. I don't know why. I feel like Gobert will go quiet against the Warriors.
Yeah,
in a weird way. I mean,
it's Gobert in the playoffs.
Yeah, so I have only going 5 games. I feel like the Warriors are just, they're defending champs, and I don't expect them to lose in the first round this year.
Yeah. My 3 and 6 is the Nuggets and the Grizzlies. I think this will be probably one of the most fun matchups. Depending on how JJJ is, will pretty much decide the outcome of the series. Fully healthy, I have the Grizzlies beating the Nuggets.
I like it.
I like the way they match up. I just don't think there's anyone to stop Ja. I don't think there's anyone to stop Ja and Bane.
Yeah.
And if
and
JJJ...
Murray, we talk about Jamal Murray. He's a great player, Canadian. We love him. He's still coming off of an injury. He's not going to be the bubble Jamal Murray. I don't think.
Exactly. And then if JJJ if he can slow down Jokic, that's the Grizzlies series to win.
Mm-hmm. My 4 versus 5, honestly, could be my favorite matchup of the first round is the Grizzlies versus Mavericks. I feel like Ja versus Luka, you're going to see that everywhere, all over social media, all over your TV. That is going to be pushed down your throat, and I think it's going to live up to the expectations. That series is going 7 games with the Memphis Grizzlies going on to the next round. I feel like fully healthy, with JJJ back, they're going to be a different team, and, they're going to be a really hard team to beat. I feel like, I don't know, just Ja carries this team but he carries them on his back. He's the only good player. He just keeps them composed and just is,
he is the heartbeat.
He is the heartbeat of them, and I feel like he losing last year in the playoffs to the Warriors, in a good series as well. He wants to get back to the playoffs and make a deep run. So
he's the type of guy that plays with fire, and my 4-5 is Suns Timberwolves, and I have the Suns taking that one. Just more complete team than the Timberwolves, and a team that's done it before.
Mm-hmm. I think the Timberwolves, they could make me eat my words and go on a run in the next few years, but I feel like they're kind of just waiting for, the Chris Pauls to fade out and, the Curry to fade out, and I feel like there's still a few teams in the West that they don't necessarily, stack up well against, that they're waiting for those teams to kind of close their windows so that the Timberwolves can open theirs.
Yeah, luckily, young team, but I agree. It's just... it doesn't ever really feel like it's the Timberwolves' time. And so I have the Suns beating them.
Yeah. Going back to the East, I have the 1-seeded Bucks versus the 5-seed Heat. Another rematch, a series we've seen a few times. I have the Bucks winning in 7. Good series. I just think, Milwaukee's gonna have a good year. I have high expectations for them. And I feel like Miami I don't know. There's something about Miami, a few years ago when they beat the Bucks that felt like, oh, they've got Giannis figured out. But now, I don't know. I feel like Giannis might have the Heat figured out.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I have the Bucks going back to the Eastern Conference Finals.
We'll see. It depends how good Giannis can be, which we know he can be. Amazing. I just think if he could pull off, if he could perform like he did in the finals, then when he won it, he could beat literally anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Mine, I guess, would be the Bucks and then the Heat as well matching up, and I have the same result. Bucks fully healthy too. Like, if you look at that Heat team and you look at who they have defensively as their options, it's like, I don't know how they match up against that Bucks team. I have Bam and Giannis, they match up well, and I guess Jimmy would match up with Middleton. And then that just leaves Drew to create space and be that facilitator. I guess Lowry would match up against him, but like, in an offense versus defense, going back and forth, I like the Bucks. They just match up way better offensively and defensively.
Mm-hmm. And then my next series would be the 2-seeded Celtics versus the 3-seed Cavaliers. And the defending East champs go down. The Cleveland Cavaliers win 2 series in this year's playoffs. They win this in 6, so they do win at home in Cleveland. I don't know. I just really like this Cavs roster, and I feel like, Boston is either going to go all the way or kind of stumble early, and I have that happening here. I just feel like defensively the Cavs are really good, really underrated, and now that they have, 2 guys that you can go to late in the game to take that shot in Mitchell or Darius Garland, I feel like it just bringing in Donovan Mitchell adds so much to this team. They're way harder to defend. They're long, they've got good guard play. I just really like the Cavs.
Yeah, I got the same matchup, Celtics-Cavs, except Celtics are too good for me, and they're going to advance past the Cavs. This isn't the Cavs year. I think next year I could definitely peg the Cavs to go on a deep run and not think twice about it, but just the Celtics team is too good. They're going to be too hungry come playoff time, and they're not going to... I don't see them faltering in the second round.
Let's see. And then in the West, I have the 1-seeded Suns versus the 4-seed Grizzlies, and I have the Grizzlies winning that one in 7. I feel like the Grizzlies match up pretty well against the Suns. Jaw and Bane, I feel like you can put up there with, CP3 and Booker.
Yeah.
Obviously not the exact same. I feel like Bane is obviously the worst of the 4, but Jaw can be the best of the 4 by far, on any given night. And, JJJ in the paint with Ayton, I feel like, is good for them. And I don't know. I just like the Grizzlies to kind of go deeper than they did last season. And, we'll see.
Yeah, mine would be the Warriors and the Suns, and that's also a really good matchup. Yeah, that would be such a great series. And I still think I have the Warriors making it. They're such a good team. They're such a talented team. Not sure if they, not sure how much more time they have left, but it's just like every single time you think you could count the Warriors out, they're still there. And I think against the Suns might go up early, but just this Warriors team is too good, and they advance.
Yeah, and then I have the 3-seeded Warriors versus the 7-seed Clippers, and in 7 games, I have the Los Angeles Clippers beating the defending champions. So both the Warriors and the Celtics go down in the second round. I don't know, I just feel like if the Warriors do go to that Western Conference final, they're probably going to win the title, so I don't want to pick them to go that deep. And then, I really like this healthy Clippers team matched up against the Warriors. I feel like it's kind of like the team that the Warriors don't want to play, a team with 2 really good two-way guys in Kawhi and PG, and a really good bench. I think, the pieces on the Clippers bench, you got, not necessarily bench, but depth. You got Norman Powell, John Wall, Robert Covington, Zubac, so Reggie Jackson, just a good ensemble.
Looks so deep.
I think Clippers to the Western Conference Finals. I'm picking it.
Well, I have my matchup being the Clippers and the Grizzlies, which I think could be one of the best matchups as well. And I also have the Clippers advancing for all the same reasons. They're just such a deep team, and I think they might actually be hungrier than they've ever been this year.
Mm-hmm. Now, in the Eastern Conference Finals, I have the Milwaukee Bucks beating the Cleveland Cavaliers in 6 games. And then this is a new award, the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, which will be handed out. Giannis Antetokounmpo, I feel like He's just the easiest guy to give it to if the Bucks are succeeding. I just feel like, if the Bucks are succeeding, you're going to, credit that a lot to Giannis. It could be a series where, I don't know, Middleton takes over and gets that MVP. It's not really a crazy award. But yeah, the Bucks go back to the finals. I just really high on them this year. Not enough good thing too many good things to say about them, I guess.
Yeah, my matchup is Bucks Celtics, and if you get a fully healthy Middleton, I can't pick against the Bucks. I think Bucks advance over the Celtics. I think it's going to be one of the better matchups, especially with the Celtics having Al Horford and Robert Williams. But I just think Giannis is that guy, and I think Giannis, he's constantly adapting and constantly learning throughout his career, and I think he'll add something to his game to be able to beat them.
Yeah. And then back to the West. In the Western Conference Finals, I have a second-round series from your bracket with Memphis and the Clippers. And in 6 games, I got the Memphis Grizzlies going to the NBA Finals. Western Conference MVP, Ja Morant. I feel like similar to Giannis, he's just the face of the team. You're not going to really give that award to anyone else. And yeah, setting up the Bucks and the Grizzlies in the NBA Finals, which if you had told, me, I don't know, I guess 10 years ago, it would have been a bland, like, Grizzlies, Bucks, two weird, American cities, but, in a modern day NBA, that'd be a very, very exciting NBA Finals.
Yeah, that would be one of the most NBA Finals I could pick out of any of these teams. Mm-hmm. My Eastern Conference MVP, I actually give that to Chris Middleton, as I think Giannis will get locked up a little bit more than and in any other series, and I'll give Middleton the freedom to average close to 30 points. But in the West, my matchup is the Warriors and the Clippers, and if the Clippers are healthy, I'm going the Clips to make the finals. I think they match up really well against this Warriors team. They have the guards to match up against this Warriors team defensively. And again, those two-way pieces of PG and Kawhi, and we've seen what Kawhi can do in the playoffs before. They're so good if they're healthy and if they can actually gel and not choke the Clippers are now prone to doing. Mm-hmm. I see them making it to the finals.
Yeah. And then in the NBA Finals, I have the same result as the 2021 NBA Finals, the Milwaukee Bucks in 6 games, defeating the Memphis Grizzlies. I think, I feel like, I don't know, it's really hard to choose who to root for. I feel like Ja and Giannis are 2 of the most liked players. Maybe not Ja. I feel like Ja's taken some heat just because of
his
some Twitter stuff.
Twitter antics. Yeah.
But in terms of on court playing, I feel like 2 of the most beloved players. But yeah, I don't know. Milwaukee in 6. I feel like Memphis to make an NBA Finals run is going to excite the fans and just look forward to, what the next decade looks like for the Memphis Grizzlies with an expectation of success. But yeah, I feel like Milwaukee's just the better team. And last year, if they were fully healthy, I probably think they repeat. So they finally, get that redemption and win another title.
It's hard to pick against the Bucks just because they're so good and Giannis is so good. But I actually do have the Clippers over the Bucks. I think it's their year to do it. I think if they don't do it this year, they're not going to do it at all for the Clippers. So I think they take the Bucks. Kawhi has beaten Giannis before in a playoff series when the Raps and the Bucks matched up. It has different players, of course, different time, and Giannis has learned more, and of course Kawhi's on a different team. But it's just, I love the way these teams match up, and I love what the Clippers have this year. I really think that if they can be healthy and if they can be that team that on paper they look like, there's no reason they can't win the NBA championship.
Yeah. So that's it for our standings and playoff predictions.
Guess we could quickly do Finals MVP because we're talking about
that's true. Finals MVP, I'm sure yours is
Kawhi.
Mine is Giannis.
So
yeah, just I feel like
2 of the best playoff performers in the league.
Iguodala winning in 2015, I feel like it's really the team's best player shows up in the finals and gets that award is the way it's gone. And then we can get into our year-end awards, and then wrap up shortly after.
Yep. Oh yeah. So I'll start off with Rookie of the Year. I have that going to Paulo Banchero. So far from what we've seen, has he dropped anything less than 20 yet? he went on a streak to start this year where he dropped 20 points in his first 5 games. This guy looks incredible, and this Magic roster looks like it'll give him all the opportunities that he can ask for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have Paolo as well. Yeah, he's averaging 21.8 and 21.8 points, 7.6 rebounds, and 3.6 assists to start the season. I just feel like he has the most opportunity of all the rookies. I feel like the Magic are going to give him, all the minutes he needs to succeed, and he plays like a veteran. I feel like he's more than, the average rookie we've seen in the last few years, and it's been a while since the number 1 pick has won the Rookie of the Year, I think, at least. I know it wasn't Cade last year.
Wasn't Edwards.
Wasn't Zion, wasn't Edwards, so I don't know when would have been the last time. So finally returning to that, number 1 pick, winning Rookie of the Year.
I guess maybe Ben Simmons winning it after coming off his injury.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't Fultz, it wasn't Ayton, it wasn't Zion, it wasn't Cade, it wasn't Edwards. Yeah. So my runner-up for that award is Ivy on the Pistons. He's been he's shown flashes of being very good, but he's my runner-up just because he's a guard coming into the league, and they usually have more trouble, more step-backs coming into the league than bigger players.
Yeah, and I just think...
And Paolo's so refined. His game is so refined.
Mm-hmm. I think also taking a little bit of a backseat to Cade Cunningham in Detroit, Ivy's numbers aren't going to be as crazy as Paolo's, but I think, I think both of those players are going to have successful NBA careers, and I have confidence in that.
Yep.
Next, we can talk Defensive Player of the Year. Sticking with the theme of Giannis winning a lot, I have Giannis winning that trophy. I just feel like, I don't know, Defensive Player of the Year is a very hard award to predict, just because, in any given season, you don't know necessarily who's going to go to. There's a few guys. I just feel like, I don't know, Giannis is going to have those numbers and win it.
It's a very safe pick. I'm going more of a upset pick where I've read a lot of tweets before where it's like the players in the league that can defend all 5 positions are Giannis, Bam, and someone else. But it's like Giannis and Bam usually are the first 2 names. And someone I think that doesn't get mentioned enough for this award just because of how good he is Evan Mobley. And I think he will come out and win the award. He'll really showcase his shot blocking ability this year. I definitely think
he is a depoy in his career, for sure.
Oh, for sure. Multiple time depoy. It's
inevitable.
And I think he's going to grab his first one in his second season. Or third season. No, second season. Yep.
For Most Improved Player, I have Bol of the Orlando Magic. He's never really been able to consistently crack a rotation, but now the Magic are giving him minutes, and he's averaging 11.1 points, 7.4 rebounds, and 2.6 blocks. And I don't see why that wouldn't keep up, like him getting the minutes that he's getting. I feel like this year he's going to be given the opportunity to showcase it, and if he averages those throughout the season, I feel like the media will be behind it. People love Bol, and I see him winning this trophy.
Yeah, I think that's a really solid pick for it. It's just one of those guys who hasn't gotten opportunity and might really prove himself to be a role player. I went more so the route of like what we saw last year. My most improved player is Jalen Brunson. It's a player who
I like it.
He's been behind Luka so far his career, and he hasn't really gotten that chance to shine. We've seen it in flashes, of course, but he hasn't gotten that chance to really lead his team. And I think with this Knicks team and him being that primary point guard, he has no reason to not come out as the most improved player. He might average similar stats, maybe only see a 3-point increase, but I just think him as a player will.
Yeah.
He'll
be more accepted as top guard in the league, not necessarily top guard, along the likes of Curry,
but he'll a guard like to lead a team.
Exactly. Yeah. I really like him as the next point guard. I like that pick. Sixth man of the year, I have Jordan Poole, coming off the bench for the Warriors. I've mentioned it before. He's had ups and downs, but I feel like he's just maybe the best scorer to come off the bench for any team. I don't know.
I would have to argue my pick, Tyler Hero.
Yeah.
He's he averages 20 points off the bench. He did it last year.
I like Tyler Hero as well. He won the award last year. I don't know. I just feel like the odds of Poole staying on the bench, I don't know. I feel like Hero could, maybe start some games just due to injuries, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, I think it's honestly a 2-man race.
And then Jordan Clarkson maybe third. just because he's such a good scorer. But
yeah, I like Clarkson as well. I just feel like I don't want to pick any guy on the Jazz to do anything just because,
who knows where they're even going to play.
Exactly.
Like, he could start all year, and I wouldn't be shocked.
Coach of the Year.
Yeah,
I have
Coach of the Year before MVP.
JV Bickerstaff, Cleveland Cavaliers. If they're going to be a top 3 seed in the East, taking that leap forward that people expected them to do, they just play the game well. They play the game right, and I like it. He's a good young coach. I feel like voters will like him, and yeah, that's my pick.
My pick for Coach of the Year would be Ty Lue, having to manage Kawhi's knee management, as they're calling it this year, and just all the new pieces they brought in, trying to make all those established names gel together. He could be the guy to do it, and if he is the guy to do it, he should be Coach of the Year.
Yeah, and finally, the MVP. I feel like I don't know if I've said this on the podcast, but I know I've said it to my friends and stuff like that. The last 5 years, if you ask me who's going to win the cup, I'd say the Avalanche, because I just knew this team was going to crack through and win the cup at one point in time, and that's kind of the way I go about this MVP pick. I picked Luka Doncic, and I feel like he's just, he's going to win one eventually, so one of these years I'll be right, and I'm putting him as my MVP so far, and I think, through the early season, he's probably, that player.
Yeah, I could see that. MVP for me was more so decided on team seeding than player performance, because it's like you've said, I want to pick Luka every single year to win MVP because he will win MVP multiple times in his career. I would be shocked if he didn't. But based off seeding and based off how I see the league shaping up, and I think the Bucks are going to have the number 1 seed in the entire league. I think they'll be the best team, and I think Giannis will be that guy throughout the entire season.
Yeah, I don't have any, anything against that pick. I've got Giannis winning a hell of a lot more, awards this season. So excited to see how everything, unplays, and, we'll be bringing you along the whole season, talking about, what we think about teams, exactly, just, players we like, what we want to see from players, all that kind of stuff. We both love basketball, and it feels good to have, basketball, hockey, football all back, the World Series going on. It's just a good time to be a sports fan.
Yeah, nothing not to look forward to.
Yeah, so thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, with our probably NHL season preview.